On today's episode of Watch Jericho, we're back with my Hummer H3 to solve the last problem it has after installing the new transmission. That is, if there's no leaks underneath it. Hey, that looks good to me. I don't see a single drop. What is going on, guys? I am Watch Jericho, and today, like I said, we've got one problem left with the Hummer H3, and that is all the lights are on the dashboard. All of them except for one. We don't have a check engine light on the dashboard, but it's mad about everything else. It says service traction system, service four-wheel drive, and I think service StabiliTrak. It's basically mad about all of the stability and vehicle control systems, and all of those failures are related to a single part, causing them all to freak out. Basically, the car doesn't know how fast it should be going. Now you say, what do you mean it doesn't know how fast it should be going? Clearly the speedometer was working in your video, and everything else seemed to be doing what it should other than those errors on the dash. Well, the thing is, I left the wipers on. The Hummer doesn't know what gear ratio it should be running in because it doesn't know where the transfer case is. You can see the service four-wheel drive light right there. The door is open. Yes, the check engine light's on because obviously the engine's not running. There's no oil pressure right now. And then as we start it, we'll get the StabiliTrak and all the other lights popping up. So here is the issue that's causing all of these lights, C0327. And it's a current DTC, and it's encoder circuit malfunction. That's because one wire is messed up on the four-wheel drive or the transfer case motor, or the actuator that turns the transfer case from four-wheel high, or the normal all-time four-wheel drive, to locking it and putting it in high, and then locking it and putting it in low. And it's a really simple little motor, a gear motor that just turns back and forth and selects where the transfer case needs to be. Well, the issue is the encoder motor is giving a position invalid back to the transfer case module, which means the vehicle doesn't know how fast the actual output from the transfer case should be going versus, you know, relative to the wheel, the speed sensor positions. So it's causing a huge problem that's throwing everything off. And, you know, for some reason it doesn't mess up ABS. ABS is pretty good about just using the wheel speed sensors there. I guess it doesn't need to care about what's going into it, just how fast the wheels are going and if they're all going at the same rate. Anyway, we're gonna run over to O'Reilly's, get a new motor, swap this thing out, and this thing should have no lights on the dash, which I'm pretty excited about. So let's head on over there right now. I'll show you guys the transfer case live data real quick. We've got right there, encoder gear position invalid. That's our issue. And I don't think I can even move the motor, even if I want to. I'm gonna throw it in active test here and try to start the motor. It didn't move one bit. And we're back at O'Reilly's to pick up, this should be the last part to get that Hummer finished and go off-roading. So let's rock and roll.
Hey.
What's up? Well, that was fast. You're on it, man.
Dang skippy.
We might have ordered it last night, but it definitely looks like you're on top of it now.
We're on top of it, brother. We got this.
Well, thank you. I will, I'll let you know what happens. I'm sure this is gonna fix it, but.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Good times.
Good times.
You know what? All the other ones are plastic. The Dorman one has a metal, and I think the OEM one, and all the other ones have plastic caps on them. So this one might be better.
Something then.
Yeah. All right.
Good
Thanks,
deal.
Levi.
Thanks, John.
Yep. Have a good one,
brother.
I think we're just minutes from having a totally fixed Hummer now. I know I said that yesterday, and we were close, but today we're closer. Okay, all you need for this job is a 10mm and some extensions because you'll want to be able to get past one of the cross members, and you'll also want a short 10 as well for the bottom ones. I think like one of those two. I think that's the one that you need the short one on. The other ones you'll probably want deep with the extensions, and this should take you about 4 or 5 minutes. You'll probably want a little pocket screwdriver to release this tab right there and pry it away from the transfer case body, the little Christmas tree. So 4 bolts total. It's a super easy job. And if it doesn't line up, obviously just line up that shaft. It only fits one way. That's why it's an offset triangle there. It's key to make your life super easy. So the wire that's broke on mine is this one. And you can see the big fat wires are the motor power and all the others are the encoder position. So that yellow wire is the one problem that's taking out this whole thing. There's our existing transfer case motor right there. And if we come around here, hopefully you guys can see the connector. You can see the problem very clearly right there. That wire is just hanging out. It's soldered, but it must have come out of its crimp. And now we don't have any position. Like I said, 4 bolts and a couple of seconds later, there is our transfer case motor, and here's our new one. I'll toss the new one in, drop in those 4 bolts, and we should be in business. As you would expect, getting 4 bolts in and out only takes a couple of minutes, and the motor is good to go and mounted, but you're gonna run into the trouble when you're actually trying to hook the thing up. You can see on the back side of the transfer case here, there's 2 humps. There's one there and one there. And that pin is supposed to go in there. Well, the yellow wire is actually too short in this design, so if you don't move it back a hole, it won't even stretch far enough. So it looks like the last person actually tried to stretch it and put it in the correct holes. It just didn't work out. It came right apart because there's way too much tension on the wire. You can see how tightly that yellow wire is stretched right there. It might even be better to zip tie this and not even use the mounting holes. That could be a good solution for you, but this will work if you just bump it back 1 hole, and it's not going to come out. That Christmas tree does not come out easily at all. So that's the whole trick to installing this thing. Let's make sure we got this real quick. Look at that, encoder gear position, all-wheel drive, and I foot on the brake. And 4-wheel high. And it's trying to go to 4-wheel low. Nice click, all-wheel drive. It looks like we're good to go. The spare tire on the H3 has always had a leak. When I bought it, it was completely flat, so I aired it up just a second ago so we could take a quick look at it and try to find out where the puncture was. And it turns out, it's not a puncture at all. This thing probably came off the bead while it was out doing some off-roading. So we got a leak there, we got a leak there, we got a slow leak right there. This spare is leak city, and it's all the way around the bead. I think I'll run this tire over to Johnny's and pop the bead off real quick, clean it up, put it back on, and maybe we can fix that. I know that tire's trash, but it's still a spare and it's the right size. So it might be worth saving real quick instead of trying to put a tire on this thing. The reality is it could use 5 new tires. Now that we know what's up with the tire, let's take this thing for a test drive. I gotta go back to O'Reilly's anyway. I've got a core for that starter we put on here, and that needs returned. I ran back to O'Reilly's, dropped off that core for the starter, and came back to the house, double checked the transmission fluid. We're looking good there, and I did snap on those safety rings for the transmission cooler lines. I know many of us were talking about that yesterday. If you haven't been burnt by those lines before, you've never really worked on a car, because they love to try to pop back out on you. And if they do pop out, you have 2 minutes or so, maybe 1 minute until it pumps all the fluid out of the transmission. So not long at all. You really have to make sure those things do lock in. And now, of course, we've got one new light on the dash. It's one that I'd seen intermittently. It will go away and then come back. I think the batteries and the tire pressure monitor sensors in one tire, I think that one's dying. It said right something. All the other ones cleared, but the right one, it seems like the battery's going dead. So this thing's rocking and rolling out on the highway, no problems at all. And of course, we'll get that last light fixed. It could just be that spare tire that's completely flat. I'm headed to a car wash that has an underbody spray right now to try to finish getting all that transmission fluid off underneath this thing. It was just completely coated in transmission fluid, and it was not fun to work on in the slightest. But we've made it through that, and we'll get this cleaned up. Like I said, everything works, and it's either off to go off-roading at Tuttle Creek or off to its next owner, whichever one happens first. I think the off-roading will be decided by how muddy the off-road park is, and right now it's been raining for like 4 days. And there you go. I ran to the car wash real quick, cleaned it up, vacuumed it out, and it still looks just as dirty as it did before. This thing is filthy and needs a super in-depth detail. But brand new transmission, and it actually drives great. It has pretty good manners out on the highway. And it looks pretty all right, even though it's filthy. I'd say it's a pretty good looking car. So that is my 2007 Hummer H3. We may go play with it some more here shortly, and we may just send it down the road to its next owner. And can't beat that no leaks. That's from some, I don't know what that's from. Oh, that Dodge Ram, that's what that's from. But it's definitely not from this thing. It's dry as a bone underneath. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjaergo.com for cool shirts, not like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. Hopefully that undercarriage wash got all the oil off the bottom of this too. Then it'll be really ready to rock.